I've wondered about the idea of showing people ideas like this that are already close to it. And if they will have already fixed their ideas so much into realities unknowable, there's no point in, debating it. And they just found a nice idea that sits in that place, so to speak, and almost in the place of a belief. It's like a provisional nice thing that they think from time to time or something like that.
Well, I mean, it's what they think until they have a cause not to think it at all anymore. But they've got to have something to run with. What are you going to do? Walk around every day thinking I have no fucking clue what's going on?
Right, dude. That's the point. There's a psychological utility to
definitely
belief, and
for sure.
We use the tools we need to get here, and that's kind of why I like the idea of iiixtheory and pataphysics, because I was able to imagine all of this, but I had no close idea that there was a way that you could kind of just turn the idea on its head and get that is true, because if you work it through linearly, it works, and you stop having to think nonsense thoughts. It almost silences the nonsense.
It's pretty crazy, right?
Yeah, and that's to me a side effect of the efficacy of Datalogical.
Yeah, I fully agree with that. So, like, if I there's no way for me to perform an empirical experiment about it, but like the sheer fact of the matter is that I thought about it non-stop for a good 2.5 years,
right?
And I don't think about it anymore. Like, sure, I talk about it and I think about the idea, but it's not a problem I have to solve. I do not think about why existence happens or why things happen. Like, those are questions that just don't trouble me anymore.
Right. And it truly allows you to live in the present moment with the full appreciation that free will or not, I'm still going to enjoy the ride.
And it's really interesting, right? It's always people who don't really understand what determinism means that say that determinism means people, essentially can do whatever they want, and they could just kill themselves. You know what I mean?
Right.
And like, that was true the whole time, and not at all true the whole time as well.
Right.
And all of the factors stopping you from, doing, I don't know, going and being a heroin addict or murdering everyone, all of those factors, they're just the same now. It doesn't change anything.
Exactly.
Because your personality is still just as capable and likely to make those decisions, whether or not it has volition, because of the way that it works.
It's like trying to imagine that a video game character wouldn't do the function of the button pushing.
Yeah, that's another one I like, is the video game analogy, right? Because it's almost like a video game in the sense that you're role playing.
Yes.
But the character doesn't know that they're being role played. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. And that's part of the fun.
That's what this is. You know, this
discovering the range of, I guess, controls that you have.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, as if you were holding a controller.
And didn't have any instructions.
Right, and that it's not like the controller can all of a sudden be a chainsaw. It's just the controller will do its set parameter of motions, and this is what I call the Creode of Free Will. You can do whatever the controller allows you to. Like, I can move.
Yeah, that is a great way to put it, man.
Right, the cursor of this mouse, it's random. Look at this, it's moving. I can't tell but it can't move outside of this frame of reference ever.
Yeah, I think that's a really good way to talk about it.
Okay. These are
another way that I sometimes talk about the free will topic is like, sure, you can decide how you want to do A or B or C, right? Mm-hmm. But don't you decide based on who you are? And the answer to that, of course, is yes, right? And you didn't decide who you are. And the answer to that is no, I didn't decide who I am.
Yeah.
So then if you didn't choose how you choose, do you choose at all? Because as far as I can tell, the answer to that would be no.
Well, if you look at the question, does that help you get behind the act of free choice? Because it seems to me to be pretty much an act.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's a great way to talk about it, because it is, you know what I mean? Like, I'm under no illusions in the sense that I don't think I'm choosing things, but I'm under the main illusion, which is that, like, God, I'm still doing it. You know what I mean? Like, I'm acting out inside the illusion, the belief that the illusion is true, even though when I'm talking to you about it, I'm talking about how I don't think it's true.
Right. So I think the only place in existence that can embody that contradiction is the human condition.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Okay.
And I think that's a really, really important one as well, as people are always talking about how, you know, reality is mysterious and maybe it just doesn't make any sense. And it's like, fucking reality makes perfect sense. Reality doesn't have any room for mistakes. You are the mistake generator. Like, let's be real.
I love that, man. Mistake generator.
Yeah, well, that's what subjectivity is, essentially.
Right, and it denotes the perfect imperfection of the entirety of the construct. Because if it were any other way, it would probably be a boring game or experience or whatever. And who knows?
Well, I mean, if you knew everything, what would there be to do?
Well, that's the point. Like, when you limit yourself, it allows for a type of discovery phase and growth. So
I agree with that.
I mean, it's probably the case that we are simultaneously a pixel of information or data logic, what we call a satiety, and at the same time, the sum total of everything. But only in our imaginations and only in the way that we can speak about it, because we're just physically walking through reality. And we used the flipbook analogy before here, in the same way that a flipbook character is just, you know, moving across the screen. There's not much to, when you're honest about it too, there's not much to think about when your words are coming out. I mean, if you are kind of being metacognitive of your words as they're flowing, there's not one word about what I'm saying right now as I'm doing that motion that I'm choosing. It's all just bleh.
Yeah, definitely not. Yeah, you're saying what you think. Yeah, it just so happens that you think these things. It's not really something that you're choosing to think.
It's just in the field of perception that I happen to be sitting in right
Which is, you know, another thing that I say about logic, you know what I mean? Like, we all do the math the same way. You know what I mean? So whatever you think isn't a choice of yours. It's the result of you applying the rules to the information you have.
Yeah, and it's the occasion.
Your brain spits out a conclusion and you go, oh, okay, I'll act as if that's true because that's my best guess.
Yeah.
So and it's not, keep going.
No, well, I was going to say that's a great almost pivot to the idea behind Zen or the Tao or any of these kind of Eastern philosophies that all tried to always silence the mind and get the stillness around silence to kind of take place for the brain, because it's a chatterbox, and trying to get it to stop the incessant regurgitation of information, whatever it is that happened throughout your day, your childhood, your hopes, your dreams, your aspirations, your fears, all this stuff is just like always kind of floating as little data packets around us. And it's like the ones that come into our eye zone get the first most attention because we're so visually inclined.
And I mean, we're also very self-obsessed creatures.
Yes, very much
like
so.
not as in humans are self-obsessed creatures, although we are. As in creatures are quite self-obsessed.
Isn't it like a byproduct of survival?
Yeah, of course. It is a biological imperative. If you're not self-obsessed, then there's an avalanche coming and you're like, eh.
Yeah. The mad doesn't work in the wild. It can only work in an emoji movie.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, man. So it's always people that don't read DMTheory that don't quite know exactly what it is that I'm saying, but know that I'm saying something that feels nice or seems good or true enough or something to that effect.
Yeah, so something that appeals to their intuition without satisfying their mind.
Nice.
Their rationale.
And that then is where I say, hey, that's kind of what DMTheory is for, because I'm not really a logician. Appealing to the intuition is a little bit of the con man's game and the guru kind of shuffle. I've
for sure, but the thing about that is that the intuition is probably also going to point you towards the truth.
Nice. I agree.
Which is what, in my opinion, is responsible for the shreds of truth in all religions. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's a good reason we've been teaching about a transcendent since the beginning of culture.
Yep.
Right? The fact that we've got it wrong is not even surprising. It's the most plausible answer. Like, the idea that we would get it right before we knew anything about the world is ridiculous. But the idea that we would get it completely wrong is also ridiculous.
Right. Because we had those intuitions to guide the embodied knowledge that we were kind of abiding by.
Yeah, definitely.
So to me, that is almost the base requirement to me of the word namaste. And in order to acknowledge that, like, for me, I like to neutralize it a bit, but like it conventionally means the divine in me recognizes the divine in you.
Yeah.
And I like blanking that to say the blank in me recognizes the blank in you, so that it allows both of us the freedom to decide what that isness, that aseity, might be in the present moment. Because
why don't we just say the essence?
The essence, exactly.
Right, because divine kind of implies that it's something worthwhile, right? Yeah. Essence is just like what something really is at its core. Fundamental constituent. That's what essence is. And I think that probably captures it a bit more. I do too, man. And having a logical definition or basis for essence is what will help, I think, in the noise reduction, Definitely.
Calling it.
Definitely.
Yeah, because we have too much subjectivity masquerading as objectivity. And I have to hold my tongue quite a bit, because I look at people with where they're at and I go, do I need to disturb them in the way that they're perceiving reality? Because functionally they're doing okay.
I think the answer to that is always yes.
Yeah, I know.
You know, like, someone's thinking something wrong, and you, even if you don't know better, you think you know better, so why don't we talk about it and one of us can teach the other? Yeah, because being open to being wrong is kind of a part of the equation. Like, yeah, definitely. That's I think that being wrong is like the only way that you can ever be right. That's how we map what's right, because it piles over the space that we don't need to return to. Yeah, definitely. And almost, I guess that could be even a caveat to dogma or dogmatism, in that when you tile over and think, you know, I'm never going to look at that again, that might be one of the things that, at least psychologically, kind of calcifies our ability to think critically or freely. But yeah, definitely. In some cases, I could see how that might be an advantageous neurostructuring. Like, oh yeah, for sure, it makes sense that people do it, but at the same time, like, you don't really need to do it anymore. Like, the fact that you're not exactly using your brain to survive, right? So I wouldn't say that it's necessary for you to freeze your beliefs so that you don't have to waste energy thinking about them, because that's essentially what it is. Yeah, totally. Taking a snapshot of them and saying, that's good. And that's a little bit of what those depictions of the omniverse are. Those are just, like, I love the fact that categorically you can see how my perception shifted with each snapshot. Because yeah, definitely. That was a model of where my thinking was at the time. And when it finally snapped into place, and when you helped me snap it into place by getting the pixel together, everything just shifted on that day in a way that I think my wife is still adjusting to in some ways, because for 10 years I belabored her with flights of fancy of the imagination that just, what if it was this, and we could believe this, and this could be the thing that's at the core of our family, and we could just, choose to believe it because we're choosing it, and then we could change it when we want to. And it was just so arbitrary and ephemeral that there was no real, she couldn't sink her rational mind into it, is what I think. And like I said, when she read just even a few lines of DMTheory, she went, "Oh, data is," and like kind of just did a little internal processing and was like, "Totally, isn't that how it's supposed to be?" Yeah, I know. It's man, that's my favorite one to hear. Is like, isn't this what we already think? Yes. And it's like, well, yeah, but also no, nobody ever thinks this. No, not in this kind of detail. Yeah. Everybody thinks it without thinking about it. Yeah. But nobody's ever been able to articulate it, and that's what's so fantastic about it. Right.